Hey everyone. Across the sacred sites of Egypt, during the light and sound show in the magnificent temple complex of Karnak, one can hear a voice booming over the loudspeakers. I am Amun-Ra. The waters of the Nile sprout from my sandals. As soon as you hear this, one will be reminded of the creator god Vishnu in Hinduism. In the typical depiction of Vishnu in Hindu iconography, the sacred river Ganges is shown emerging from the toe of Vishnu, while in Egypt, the waters of the Nile sprout from the sandals of Amun. Today, let's know about the worship of Krishna and the celebration of the Rath Yatra festival in the ancient Egypt. Let's start the video, but before that, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video. Amun was the presiding deity of Karnak, and he was worshipped there as a creator god along with his wife Mut and his son Khonsu. Amun was depicted in funerary art and temple inscriptions with a blue skin color with feathers in his headdress. Now, if anyone travels to India, you can hear about a god having a blue skin color with feathers in his headdress and from whose sandals or toes a sacred river emerges. He will get a single answer: Vishnu, or more likely, Krishna, for it is Krishna who was always depicted with peacock feathers in his headdress. At Karnak, at the beginning of the New Kingdom in 1550 BC, Amun took the position of Atum as a head of the state pantheon. He became the self-engendered creator god. Evidence indicates that the construction of the temple complex at Luxor and Karnak may have started as early as the Middle Kingdom, although the buildings visible today date from the reign of the Amenhotep III, the great temple builder of the 18th dynasty. The annual Opet festival is used to be celebrated in Karnak during the season of the flooding of the Nile. In this grand festival, the idols of the Theban triad of divinities, Amun, Mut and Khonsu, were placed on sacred barks, that is boats, which were carried in a splendid joyous procession down the avenue of the Sphinxes along the 2-mile road that connects the temples of Karnak and Luxor. At Karnak, the idols of the Theban triad were the first ceremoniously washed and magnificently dressed with colorful linen and precious jewelry and placed on sacred barks. The barks were then carried by the priests on their shoulders, accompanied by musicians and soldiers carrying standards decorated with brilliant plumes and streamers. Huge crowds of people gathered along the road, blowing trumpets, dancing and singing, clapping, offering prayers, burning incense sticks, and generally raising a tremendous din. Once the idols reached Luxor temple, the coronation rites of the king were repeated in a sacred ritual which effectively transferred the power of divine rulership from Amun to the pharaoh. The idols rested in Luxor for a period of time and subsequently came back to Karnak in another procession along the river Nile. Although the Opet festival was initially celebrated over only 11 days, later it was extended to nearly 24 to 27 days. The festival not only symbolized a restoration of the divine right of the king to rule, but also signified a rejuvenation of the creative forces of the cosmos through the sacred rituals and boisterous celebrations. Amazingly enough, an exactly similar festival is still celebrated every year in the coastal town of Puri in the state of Orissa in eastern India after the onset of monsoon in the month of July. Here, in the yearly Rath Yatra festival, the idols of Krishna, which is Jagannath, his brother Balaram and his sister Subhadra, are carried in 3 magnificent chariots pulled by thousands of devotees along the 2-kilometer road that connects the Jagannath temple to the Gundicha temple. The actual festival, of course, had started nearly 2 weeks earlier when the idols of Krishna, Balaram and Subhadra were given a ritual bath and redecorated. On the day of the Rath Yatra, the idols were installed on the 3 massive chariots nearly 45 feet high, which had been constructed for the 3 deities. The chariots were kept outside the Jagannath temple walls, and the endless stream of devotees blew conch shells and played trumpets as soon as the idols were brought out of the temple on decorated palanquins and placed on their respective chariots. Then the king of Puri paid his obeisance to each of the chariots. He sprinkled sacred water on the chariots and swept the chariots clean with his golden broom. The chariots then started making their way along the grand avenue one by one, pulled by ropes by thousands of devotees. The chariots stopped at many points along the way in order to provide an opportunity to the devotees to catch a glimpse of the idols inside the chariot and offer their prayers. After this, they returned back to the temple of Jagannath in another joyous, noisy procession known as the Ulta Rath. The similarities between these two ancient festivals are obvious and striking. There can be no doubt that the Opet festival of Karnak is identical in form and spirit to the Rath Yatra festival of Puri. The worship of the Theban triad of divinities Amun, Mut and Khonsu was established at Thebes only at the beginning of the New Kingdom in 1550 BC. On the other hand, the festival of Rath Yatra has been celebrated in India for thousands of years, although the current temple of Jagannath dates from the 12th century AD. The festival has been mentioned in multiple Puranas, which are historical documents of unknown antiquity. The Skanda Purana states that the first Jagannath temple was established in the Satyuga. Since Jagannath refers to Vishnu, the Lord of the universe, he was worshipped in different forms in different yugas. In the Kali Yuga, he is worshipped in the form of Krishna. In many other Sanskrit texts such as the Narad Purana, Padma Purana and the Ramayana, the virtues of worshipping Jagannath have been extolled. That implies that this ancient festival, along with the triad of divinities Krishna, Balaram and Subhadra, must have been transferred from India to Egypt sometime prior to 1550 BC. Historians have pointed out that Indian traders had trade relations with the first pharaohs of dynastic Egypt in 3000 BC and sold them cotton, muslin, spices, myrrh, incense, gold and ivory. The ancient maritime trade routes, popularly known as the Silk Route, led from Egypt in a southeast direction to the flourishing ports of the western and eastern coasts of India. Along these ancient routes, Egyptian and Indian ships plied back and forth since unknown antiquity, carrying precious objects of trade. Clearly, there is much we do not know regarding the origins of the Egyptian civilization and the role that trade and migrations have played over thousands of years in taking culture and tradition to distant parts of the globe. Something very interesting and hitherto unexplored appears to have taken place in Egypt at the beginning of the New Kingdom in 1550 BC, as a result of which the worship of Amun, Mut, Khonsu became the state religion and Amun was elevated to the head of the Egyptian pantheon. This is a subject that needs to be researched in more detail. Well, that's it for today. I hope you're liking Nerdies discoveries. Can't wait for the next video to learn more and be fascinated about. See you on the next. Bye.